So, good evening, everyone. I think we had a very elaborate and very deep diving session done just before this, wherein we have got a lot of insights in terms of technology and specifically the interventions of artificial intelligence into how it can add value to the various business processes. Okay. So, I think the topic that we have for the panel today, I think it is very interesting. It is around the focus on digital strategies that most of the insurance companies are now coming up with, and how this focus, obviously coupled with the new technologies like AI, is actually making a lot of change in the various customer journeys that are currently in place. Um, and I think, before we actually start the discussion with our esteemed panelist here, I think digital, obviously, is a very vague word. I mean, there are a lot of interpretations that can be drawn out of digital. But definitely, the world is changing in terms of how the journeys needs to be reorchestrated. So while obviously, as I was, discussing just outside that there are technologies in place, when it comes to customers, there are means currently as well wherein they can buy policies. But then if you look at it, the adoption is still lesser, specifically in areas around life and health. Um, One of the factors, what I probably feel is, while the technology is there, but then the processes are still not streamlined in the way that the customer life is made easy. If I have to buy a policy, still if I go to portal, I have to enter a huge amount of data field. I have to upload a lot of documents. Now that is something which nobody personally like to do. I mean, everybody expect nowadays to get a lot of information automatically populated, and documents which are already there should automatically come in. And that is where there is a need to completely rethink and revamp these journeys. Obviously, with the advent of technologies, you have a lot of insurtechs which are providing a lot of specialized information. There are public and private data sources which are, if used judiciously, can give you a lot of information about the customer. So I think all these data sources needs to be leveraged in a much better way so that the journeys for the customers can be much more intuitive, much more easier. And that is where we'll actually see, a much more greater adoption of technology by the customers themselves. Now, with this topic, I mean, I'll like to ask Ms. Deepa, in terms of, with these new technologies to digitizing a lot of these journeys. I mean, how do you see the reshaping of these journeys going forward in terms of how these technologies are actually going to bring about a lot of change in the existing processes, specifically onboarding and even the servicing processes for that matter?
Good afternoon, all. Am I audible? Yeah, all right. So let me ask a question here. How many of us remember probably going down to the an MSCB office or an MTNL office and paying our bills? Can I do a show of hands? A lot of us do remember that. And how many people do we actually think do that today? Right? Most of us have moved online, and whether it be a bill payment, whether it be a new customer onboarding, be it at the MGL office or anything of that sort, uh, everything is moving online. There is digitization in every sector, no matter where we talk about. So insurance as a business, and I coming from a life insurance industry, is obviously no different. So when we talk about onboarding, we have all of these advertisements also that you see, where we moved away from filling in the actual paperwork to a bank representative coming home and collecting all of that, clicking a picture. But then now things have become even more digitized, where everything's online, right? You probably sitting home, we don't even need an agent to come home. That is the speed, that is the pace at which digitization is moving forward today. And when we look at onboarding a new customer, any kind of a B2C in today's world, if we do not have a digitized onboarding process, we're going to be left behind the curve, right? So let me talk about filling up the forms, providing all of the information for an onboarding journey. Now, the earlier we probably team up with organizations like, for example, CRISIL. CRISIL is somebody that will give you a financial score then and there to the organization. How good or how healthy is this individual to be onboarded? Similarly, with the insurance area, you've got an IIB that's going to give you a score. It's going to tell you how healthy the individual is with respect to other organizations where they've taken policies, any kind of claims. So in terms of a score, you're going to get that IIB scores as well. So at every step of the process, there's going to be something where we'll have to integrate with other organizations providing such information. Now, it could be something as simple as probably doing a video conference just to ensure that the person who's signing up is actually the person who's provided his documents. So whether we talk about showing an Aadhaar picture or you going live on camera, originally leading out a script, today in today's world it could just be simply a live photo. You just move a little, you make sure that the person's there right in front of you. Nobody's holding up a picture to the phone, and then that's your basically a video conference to ensure that the person's right there. You've got integrations with Aadhaar, so all of your eKYCs are online now. And the earlier that organizations adopt all of these integrations, the smoother it is going to be even for a customer experience to not get into too much of paperwork, but also equally for the organization to make sure that the speed of onboarding, the turnaround is much faster. So when we talk about PIVC, we talk about filling in customer information, we talk about scores like CRISIL scores, IIB scores, we talk about even policy issuance for that matter. Uh, Earlier, the days, we used to actually get hard copies at home. A lot of organizations have gone green. But even if you were to ask an individual today to sit and write out an email versus get it on WhatsApp, I think more individuals are moving towards WhatsApp. So things are moving. Customer convenience is top notch, and that's a given right now. So in order for us to improve customer experience, I think digitization, we have no other option but to adopt insurtechs that work on these niche integrations and get it there for us.
Absolutely. I think there are some valid inputs given by Ms. Deepa. And just to continue with that, you know, uh, there are a lot of insurtechs now who are sort of specializing in a lot of areas which are actually enabling a lot of these transformations, in the industry. So I'd like to ask Mr. Kallol that, now with these plethora of technologies that is available, how do you see or what you have done specifically in your organization to adopt them and to, sort of not just streamline your onboarding journeys, but also to bring in a lot of element of personalization, because, the industry is now requiring a lot of personalized offering. I mean, the customer has become very choosy, and, you need to offer him something which is very relevant to him. So how do you see this happening and what you have done in your organization to deal with this?
Okay, so we are talking about emerging technologies and digital in India, where the insurance penetration is less than 5%, and majority of it with the life insurers. And although like IRDAI has a mandate insurance for all, so that is the vision, right? By 2047. So that's a very ambitious journey. So with that in mind, that is not possible unless all the digital and emerging technologies that is available to grab is grabbed, right? So having said that, if I just look back what happened before COVID and after COVID, the major change that we are witnessing is the number of our end customers or the intermediaries, the use of digital channels has increased. So to the tune of conservatively 15 to 20%. So the way they were using our portals before and the way they are using our portals and digital channels after the COVID, so there is a drastic change. So keeping pace with that, I will mention a 5-pronged strategy or 5 elements of technology strategy that not only us, but many of my peers are also adopting in this space. So I will start with AI ML and all these items, all these technology strategy elements or emerging tech that I'll mention today. You have heard it since morning today, I'm sure, from multiple speakers, multiple panels. So I'll tell you what exactly is happening in the general insurance space. So AI ML, and I will include generative AI also. I'll come to that. So Mr. Manu, just before this session, he was asking a question that how many of you actually have implemented generative AI on private data, right? So none of the general insurers, but all are in the exploratory mode, including us. So before coming to generative AI, if I talk about the normal AI and ML that GI, general insurers, are using, so the main use that we have today is in claim processing. And if you know, like in claim processing, and in our case, like the majority line of business, the majority revenue earning line of business are health and motor. So for both health and motor claim, AI and ML is being used today to a great extent. So, but it is not completely void of humans. There is a human layer also. Like the way a third party administrator or TPA, they handle a claim is like first there is a ML engine through which the claim runs. It throws a number of recommendations which are actually reviewed by a team of medics. And once they approve it, then only it is passed on to the insurance company for settlement. That's how it works. So that is the majority use of AI, and similar things are happening in the motor claim processing as well. But Indian insurers are still in the early stage of exploiting the like full feature of AI. So we are still taking initial steps in AI. So many other areas where AI has a significant role, and we are either in exploratory mode or have started using in some of those, are like, let us say, in underwriting. There is a massive use of AI. Fraud analytics is one area. So many of our peers are already using it to high maturity, use of AI in fraud analytics. Predictive analytics is one area in collaboration with AI, ML, and many other technologies that is being used. And finally, AI chatbots. Just before this, like some of our panelists, we were discussing this. AI chatbots, how it can be used. So, some of the insurers outside India are using AI chatbots to a much greater extent. In fact, they are cutting down their contact center human agent count to a significant number by using AI chatbots. And now voice chatbots are also available, right? So these are the various areas where AI and ML can have a significant impact. Coming to generative AI, so some of the use cases that insurers are exploring today is mainly, let us say, contact center and training the agents and the contact center, like making use of so how the contact center human agents are responding to questions today. They have a set of FAQ, so they mostly resort to that, the L1 help desk. That's how they work. But generative AI in this space can do wonders. So they can really replace this particular task. So I thought I will start with AI ML because this is one area where the adoption can significantly increase over the next couple of years. The second item I'll talk about is, and this is also something one of the earlier speakers I heard saying, is the advent of super apps, right? So we, National Insurance Company, we are a 117 years old company. We had our foundation day just 2 days back. And that was the day when we actually launched the first update of our super app, an all-in-one app called NIMA, or National Insurance Mobile App. So this is an app which kind of consolidates multiple Android apps we have today and more. So this is for simplifying the overall user journey, and it improves the availability and so on and so forth. So many other insurers are attempting it, and this is not only for customers, because if a super app is launched just for customers, unlike banking, where a super app like, let us say, Yono, you may need to use multiple times in a month. For a general insurance company, customers might come to a super app maybe twice or thrice in an entire year, right? Once for renewal and once for maybe some policy servicing. So this app is actually offered for multiple persona. including intermediaries, our agents. So instead of coming to our portal, they can actually create a policy or underwrite a policy using this super app. And our surveyors, workshops, our employees. So multiple persona can be covered using this super app. So this mobile app or mobile first is another strategy I wanted to touch upon. So I have covered AI, I have covered mobile as two centerpieces. The third one, very important, is API first. Since morning today, I am sure you have heard of a number of IRDI initiatives that is coming. And this is something which is called together as Bima Trinity. This is Bima Sugam, which is kind of an platform where you can, all insurance companies will come together. And this is a trusted platform because this is IRDI backed. So you can buy policy, you can do endorsement, all the policy servicing can be done. So Bima Sugam, next is Bima Vistar, a single product for life, non-life combined. And finally, Bima Bahak, so insurance agents to cover the rural market. So with these coming in, and this really points to the connected ecosystem that we have in the insurance world today. And this connected ecosystem is not possible without an API first agenda. And when I talk about API, it is much more than just an application integration mechanism, right? So API we are dealing with as a product, and most of our peers are dealing API as the same way. So without that, this entire paradigm will not be sufficient. The next point I'll touch upon is cloud first. So traditionally, all the legacy insurers are 100% on-premise, but with the advent of data explosion and the scalability needs, agility needs, it is a must that we need to move to a distributed infrastructure. So we are adopting hybrid cloud first, not only on-premise, but also we are adopting public cloud as well as private cloud altogether. And this entire thing, all of these are interlinked. These are, and all four that I mentioned so far, AI first, mobile first, API first, and cloud first, is not possible without security first. So unless this entire thing can be secured, the thing will fall off, right? So we work very closely. We have our own security mechanisms in place. We have a layered security architecture in place, and that is something which is a kind of a standard being followed across the industry. We also work very closely with advisors, security advisors like Sartin, IRDI, and take timely, regular updates from them and act accordingly. So that's what I believe is all inclusive.
Mr. Kallol, that was very insightful. And obviously, you've touched upon various facets of technology. And obviously, when so much technology comes into picture, the ways of working of the insurance company also has to change. I mean, there has to be a lot of cultural change in terms of how organizations, or specifically the workforce, needs to adapt to the new challenges as well as to the new possibilities that can come up for any insurance company. So my next question would be to Mr. Prasad in terms of what would be his suggestions for the insurance companies to help prepare their workforce to be adapting themselves to this new ways of working that is there, in the pipeline now.
So I'll just take a step back and think from this perspective that we talk about a lot of digitalization today. Right, every single process has got digitalized. Right, and that's the reason what both the panel members mentioned, that a lot of processes have got moved into digital level. Now, the true success of this aspect will come into the picture when it reflects into the digital business as well. Because when we talk about converting all our processes digital, we are still talking about an insurance intermediary who is doing that journey on behalf of customer. So the entire effort is to simplify the life of an intermediary. Now, currently in the insurance business, if I talk from the life insurance business perspective, not more than 5 to 6% of the business comes via online or digital mode, correct? So that means a lot of customers are still not moving into purchasing the product on their own digitally, correct? And that's the key question what we need to solve for. So when we talk about this customers purchasing the product on their own, then the entire question of how simplified journey we can create with the help of technology, that comes into the picture. So yes, from the KYC collection perspective, a lot of things have happened. From document collection perspective, what a lot of things have happened. Even a lot of things have also happened in terms of um, uh, enabling the customer to complete their journey, OCR, all those things have happened. But the most important thing where we need some help and where we need to bring more innovation and where the workforce has to get adapted to would be more into the aspects of underwriting, aspects of medical requirement, because most of the life insurance companies will ask for a physical medical test before onboarding a particular customer. So how do I simplify that particular process? And there are so many tools which are available today in the market. Right? I have seen some of the face scan solutions. Right? They scan the face, they let you know your blood pressure, they let you know your blood glucose, your oxygen level, your stress level. Multiple things are happening on the basis of one face scan. But the challenge is it is not clinically proven yet, or clinical data is not sufficient right now. So what I would suggest that some level of work when we talk from this particular perspective, from insurance and reinsurance perspective, has to happen into this field where everybody starts taking all these inputs into decision making. Because if today I want to make the life insurance journey as any other over the counter product purchase journey, I need this particular part more, where we have started working, but it is still not the level where we want it to be. The second part would be, as we all know, that life insurance processes are slightly lengthy in nature. Not more than 14-15% of the business happens on a DIY basis, where customers are completing the journey on their own. Only 14-15% is happening. Remaining 85% is still happening on the basis of assistance. Now, what Mr. Basu also mentioned, that it takes time for a human to learn and get trained. And by the time it's not completely trained, the customer experience can get compromised in that particular scenario. So that's the second phase where the initial interactions with the customer to assist him in completing the journey, which currently is happening via manual voice call, that has to move into a more refined system based call. And I do understand that Gen AI, the cost perspective and everything is still there. But if we use it properly, I think that's where the overall thing will move into, where customers can do most of the journeys on their own. And the third part where I would recommend, or I would, in fact, it's my wish list where I would like to go and use, which again Mr. Basu touched upon, is the ecosystem like Bima Sugam. The current challenge or the ecosystem of Bima Sugam, which might get integrated with the ABHA, which is Ayushman Bharat Health Account, if those things happen and every entire integrated ecosystem becomes available to most of the life insurance and general insurance company, then that entire concept of doing the journey or purchasing a life insurance product over the counter can become true. And if that happens, then that becomes a true sense of achievement for any digital business. Now, what are the challenges in doing so? That the data which is available now, currently we don't know how much Bima Sugam is going to expose the data they are going to collect to the individual life insurance companies or the individual general insurance companies. If they do it, then a lot of opportunities are there to work on the multiple aspects of it.
Very fair point, Mr. Prasad.
But
And
I would add that UPI, we all know that UPI is there for a long time. But when COVID has come into the picture, UPI graph suddenly got shot up. In that scenario, what also happened, that savings account, number of people who started opening savings account, and why they're opening it, because they want to do UPI transactions, that became a moment or a slingshot for a savings account industry to open more and more accounts. My hunch is, if well integrated, Bima Sugam, which is connected with ABHA, if that becomes reality and it becomes available, that can become a slingshot for a overall life insurance and general insurance business.
Absolutely. And I think one of the good aspects that a platform like Bima Sugam is trying to bring to the table is it's not just about onboarding. I mean, obviously, everyone considers onboarding, and it is one of the critical aspects for any insurance company. But equally important, specifically, what Mr. Basu would appreciate from a short-term insurance standpoint is the customer gratification. I mean, which comes in the form of servicing and claims. And what Bima Sugam is trying to create is a platform not just to enable faster onboarding, but also to provide a platform where the claims can be submitted, the servicing can happen at one place, because those are also very critical aspects when it comes to making your customer much more enabled. So going further, I think obviously while the roadmap going forward is to bring in a lot more digitization and to achieve the next level of technology adoption for any of the insurance company. But at the same time, I think the regulator also plays a critical role. I mean, there are guidelines which have been laid down by the regulator, which needs to be complied to. So it's actually a double-edged sword that you need to sort of do a lot of digital adoption, but at the same time comply to those guidelines which are there. So, Ms. Deepa, what do you think? How this is going to be, the play going forward? I mean, would we see much more collaboration between the regulator and insurance company, and how it is going to span out?
So I think with respect to regulatory compliance, right? Knowing that there's going to be a lot of collaboration with insurtechs, knowing that there's going to be more and more insurtechs coming into each of the spaces, be it customer experience, be it agent onboarding, be it even internal, internal enterprise related requirements. Regulatory is going to be a huge, it's going to be an enabler, but it's also going to make things very streamlined, very disciplined, and it's going to lead a lot more adherence, especially with something like DPDP coming in. You're going to make sure that your time, your storage, your the limit at which you're going to be collecting data, storing data, it's time bound. It's going to be something that you're going to collect only for the purposes that you've signed up for. Something like a targeted marketing is probably not going to be encouraged as well. All of those compliances will come into play when we talk about audits that happen, especially from a regulatory perspective. They're going to come back with a lot of questions here, on what was the kind of data that was sent out, especially, let's say, when we collect data, we talk about consent. When we're collecting data, especially with respect to, let's say, children, what kind of a personalized marketing was done, what was that data down the line used for. So a lot of the compliance is going to be around that as well, not just in terms of financial, but also in terms of usage of that data. How are we going to use it? How are we going to retain it? When are we going to store it until all of that pieces? So I think from a regulatory compliance perspective, enablement, yes. And I think in terms of growing insurance businesses, I think IRD is also bringing in policies that, especially if we, like Kallol sir said, just 4.2 to 4.5% is our insurance penetration today. And especially if you look at LI, we've got about 75% of the population that's still not covered. So population living dangerously. So obviously, until 2047, when we want to make a huge impact there, on one hand, while we want to onboard more and more customers, we want to increase the penetration, especially as it goes into the rural penetration. That's going to increase a lot as well. That's going to be balanced by regulatory compliance at the other end, just to make sure that things are streamlined.
Sure. In fact, data protection has been the buzzword since morning. I mean, it has been there in discussions, in almost all the discussions that I've been listening since morning. And I think with that, my next question would be to Mr. Basu. That obviously, it requires stringent cybersecurity practices to be put in an organization in terms of both processes and technologies. So what are the steps that your organization has taken specifically, to ensure that the cybersecurity norms are being followed, and you have the right set of technologies in place to deal with the challenges around it?
Thanks. I'm sure, like, since morning today, you have heard maybe more than 100 times the word DPDP, right? I'm sure, maybe more than that. So no wonder, because it's really kind of a game changer in the security space. So in DPDP, what security we are concerned about? Data, right? But if I think the entire cybersecurity architecture, data really is at a core of it. So data is normally associated with an application which is part of a network, and that application is accessed from an endpoint which is part of a network which is inside a perimeter. So as I mentioned earlier, security approach that all the insurance companies today are adopting is a layered security approach. So there are security mechanisms at the perimeter level, network level, endpoint level, application level, and data level. So when I think about perimeter level, it is something you already know, like firewalls, right? So it is like hardware as well as a software solution that we normally have, just to ensure that the right traffic only enters my network. And this coming to network, you all are. I'll make it quick because I see time's up. So on network part, we are all hearing about zero trust network access, right? So I actually give access to my network only with a combination of the right user credential, right device posture, and the right policies in place. If all these are met, then only I give the access to my network. And coming to endpoint, so endpoint has become more important. Again, I'll go back since the COVID times. It has gained more prominence. So even 5 years back, malicious attackers would normally attack perimeter. Perimeter was the most favorite target, right? But since COVID times, since the lockdown started in March, we are seeing from April to next 6 months, some of the largest cyber attacks happened, and mostly, in most of the cases, exploiting some vulnerability of the endpoint device. So presently, like all the companies, all the leading companies are using the best of the breed solution to protect the endpoints whenever it is connected to a corporate network. Coming to application, like for application security, like three things that we consider. Number one is what you know. Second is what you have. Third is what you are. So what you know is your password, right? So when you log into an enterprise system, you key in your password, but that is not enough. So that also should be certified by what you have. That is your mobile phone that you always have. So I'm talking about multi-factor authentication, or at least a two-factor authentication for accessing any application. So we have mandated that. The next step is what you are. That is the use of biometric, which some of the leading banks have already adopted. And this is something which will come as a part of the security mesh, where all these things must be satisfied before I allow access to any of my application. And finally, last but not the least, is the data security, which has been discussed at length since morning today. One last point I'll mention, that 2/3 of data breaches or cybersecurity incidents happen due to human errors. So some of the users fell prey to some of the social engineering, and that's how it actually happened. So how we are addressing it is regular training and sensitization. So I believe this is the layered approach that I was mentioning.
Thank you, Mr. Basu. And I could also see the time's just up. So I'll just, sort of conclude this discussion with one final question to Mr. Prasad. But obviously, another buzzword that we've been hearing right from the morning is insurtechs. I mean, there are a lot of insurtechs coming into, there are a lot of technology players. So can you share some instances from your organization wherein you have adopted any of these insurtechs which have actually brought about, some changes in terms of the transformation that, you would have targeted to achieve?
So when we talk about any tech development or any tech initiative, it happens that developing the technology on your own is anyway a big problem. It takes a lot of permutation combination. You have to invest time and energy and money into it. It's always better to explore a solution which is already in the market. If it is not yet tested, then testing it, doing a POC part of it. One single example I'll provide, which will be a face scan kind of a thing, which we currently use as a part of our onboarding journey. We use a third-party service which is utilized for the same. But the best part is uh, having the solution, having the confidence in the solution after using it for a couple of years. I think the overall technology space in insurance will get driven through a lot of insurtech companies, because those are actually going to bring in that efficiency into the insurance company instead of we developing each and every solution on our own. So that's one example. The another example would be bundling insurance solutions into multiple ecosystems. That itself becomes an insurtech opportunity, and that also we have explored recently, where we have bundled our uh, life insurance small ticket size solutions into multiple organizations or multiple employer employee kind of activity with the help of an health tech plus insurtech company. So those things will help us increase the reach of life insurance. Well, I think somebody mentioned that life insurance penetration is still at a very small percentage to the Indian population. This insurtech ecosystem integrations will help not only build that particular thing, the reach part of it, but also the overall penetration.
Thank you so much. I think those are very insightful, feedbacks given by the panelists here. So I would now conclude this discussion, and obviously, definitely technology is going to be the way forward, and probably I would say we are still at early stages of adoption, and the next 3 to 4 years is where we'll see a lot more changes in terms of how these journeys would be getting revamped, and we'll see a lot more adoption of technology by almost all the insurance companies. So I think with that, I'll thank all the panelists here for their valuable insights around it. Thank you.